Hi, everybody. Today it's September the 2nd, and I want to give a new update on my founder trajectory. So now I'm actually in the second week of my founder trajectory. In the first week, I focused on problem identification, and now I shifted attention to actually finding a solution, a value proposition. And I actually did quite some brainstorming already, and I came up with the first idea. So now it was also a bit for me time to confront this idea with reality. So I decided to reach out to somebody, namely Ronja Stoffregen, to ask if she, as a kind of mentor, wanted to give me feedback. Why did I ask Ronja? Ronja is actually the director corporate venturing at Rehau New Ventures. And she has been a founder herself before. So in her job, she's on a daily basis talking with startups, and she has founder experience herself. Now, just to be transparent, Ronja is also doing an external PhD at my chair at WHU. So actually, our normal way of communication is that I give critical feedback on the research that she's doing, but today actually we changed the roles, and I asked Ronja if she, as a mentor, could give me feedback on the ideas that I have started to develop. And maybe a small spoiler alert, but I can tell you that the feedback was not really positive, especially about the way I want to solve the problem. And so what I did now, and that's what I promised, so I want to be as transparent as possible. So you will see kind of the full conversation that I had with Ronja about my idea. And you will also get the feedback that Ronja is providing to me. And you will see that over time, during this recording, I get a bit more desperate because I realize that there are some fundamental issues with my solution. So I would say enjoy the show. Watch how Ronja is substantially questioning some of my assumptions. And after the conversation, I will also briefly come back to briefly reflect on what Ronja has provided as input for me. So I hope you will enjoy what you see. As of this week, I have started to think about a problem. Which problem do I want to solve? And actually, I'm still very enthusiastic about the problem of this topic of conferences and introverts. Yeah? And why? Because I'm an introvert. And
Really?
And so I've really experienced this problem. Yeah? And also last week, I was at this European Forum Albach, and then everything is organized like 30 people together for 3 hours. And then afterwards, there is a lunch in a very crowded space where you're sitting with 10 people on a table. And so after one day, I'm exhausted. And to be honest, then I disconnect. Yes? And the next day, okay, I go to the thing I need to go. But then in the evening, I don't go to the lunch. I just go have dinner by myself.
No, you just ride your bike and decide what's better, how to spend your time. I get it. Makes sense, yeah?
But at the same time, I also realized that in that way, I miss the opportunity to talk with interesting people. And so I know that in that way, I'm not optimizing my time at these conferences. Yeah, so that was my starting point. And at this, I'm still quite intrigued by the fact that although I think introverts are like 30 to 50% of the population, that a lot of time, the fact that we have this kind of people is not really taken into account. So for me personally, it's actually a big pain point. And then I've continued thinking about this pain point. I also did some kind of customer interviews with ChatGPT. And so then I talked with conference organizers. And then my feeling is they don't understand the problem. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And I think that's also a kind of self-selection bias because conference organizers typically are extrovert people that do not always understand introverts. But then I thought even broader, and for me, I think actually the whole notion of conferences is quite a broken concept. And we were in Florence, not in June. Did I learn a lot about there? No. Did I meet new people? No. To be honest, most of the time you just hang out with the people you know, and that's fun. But in the end, then the added value of these conferences is quite limited. Yeah. So my feeling is we need to really rethink the notion of conferences, and not only academic conference, but I think also in the business world. And so my idea at the moment is actually I want to kind of decentralize conferences. And meaning, instead of having this very centralized conference perspective where everybody's together in a venue, where you have the big hall meetings, where you have the big dinners, I want to have a more decentralized approach where a conference is kind of spread out over a city, and where you actually allow people to match with each other. And of course, technically today, that's all possible. And I think what is also a nice thing is then also when you get matched, that the platform that I want to develop for that can also suggest you where you can meet in the city. But instead of, like think again in Florence, the conference venue was not the most attractive place, and you have Florence there, not? Mm-hmm. So why not give people suggestions about, you two want to meet up? Here is a nice bar in the center of Florence where you can sit and talk together, or here is actually a museum and they actually have a nice place where you can have a lunch and you can talk. So that's a bit my idea, to create a platform where people can match with each other. But that for me is okay. I'm definitely not the only one that thinks about it, but I think also link it to this broader notion of let's create a decentralized conference where people can venture out throughout the city so that they actually can combine the fact of having really in-depth meetings and not these superficial conversations as the reception, but you have lunch together, but also at a nice place, like a nice bar, a nice restaurant, or a nice museum. That's the idea.
Okay. First of all, I think it's really cool that you expressed it from your very own experience, because and here I want to share really my thoughts is, even as a so-called extrovert, you have the same problems, so you still stroll around. And to me, I mean, the reasons, for instance, that I only participate at conference where I'm a keynote speaker is because then people have a first touch point with me and can talk about all their thoughts and ideas and, connections I should do. So I don't think this is only targeted to introverts. And I think also, I mean, you said it's not limited to academic conferences. This was my first academic conference in Florence, and it was it was a insightful experience. But it was nothing where I went home and was super inspired and met, my future co-authors for my next 30 papers, right? Yeah. So, and I think there are many, events when you just look at IAA coming up in the next 2 weeks, Munich, the automotive exhibition. You have a lot of satellite events left and right? You have sponsors from Hyundai to Unternehmertum, who all will then do like a little bit of a satellite event, which is in connection with the IAA, but then also, focusing on one topic, innovation, academics, on startup night, So I'm actually not participating in the IAA, but I'm participating on 3 of those side events from Audi, from Unternehmertum, and from Hyundai. Because this is kind of like what you just said, and, validating a problem here. This is where I make meaningful connections on the coffee bar or while having some French fries. And so, ultimately, I want to validate your factor. I think also there are some conferences, especially in the startup world and the startup ecosystems, that do this really well. They follow the open space format where you move on with, for instance, you can say in your app, okay, I have this, and that problem, and then this, and this problem is being discussed on this table, and then you get your food, because for every human, especially now that we're not used to meeting strangers in the bar, we're all, dating life is in a digital world. When you go out with friends in the bar, you don't even talk to any stranger. And this is the same comes now true in the sense of conferences at any event, really. And so ultimately, I like the idea, but I think, looking at it from a mentor perspective, I would say it's really, really hard to get a foot into the room. simply because there are a lot of like event apps, matchmaking apps. Even if you look at it at Bumble for Friends, looking at it for like conferences, so that they can extend it a version for those activities. So
because I have never experienced that kind of tools, at least in the academic world. But now you're saying that maybe in the business world or like in startup world, these tools are already much more present.
super present. So, for instance, I'm attending the My Way conference in a couple of weeks. I think it's in October. And even already, like today, I'm getting an invite for the app to establish my profile, say what topics I'm interested in, like with who do I want to have a matchmaking? Yes, no. Do I want to have direct messaging? Yes, no. And then they don't propose like this is the bicycle tour you should do on a Tuesday morning, but they say, for instance, these are things to do, places to see. You get like free access to museum XYZ. Those are our sponsors. This is how they make the sponsorship worthwhile because people are going into the app. But
then what are your experiences with that kind of app? Do you then really use it intensively, or is it?
You try? No, I don't like it, for instance, because when I'm
why?
Because I think it's becoming like when I'm using it as a corporate and I create this profile, the moment I look into the app, I have like 50 unread messages. And then I don't read any, and I'm just trying to hide because people will approach me and be like, hey, I wrote you a message, you never answered. And then, I'm like another channel next to LinkedIn and my mails where I'm like, okay, I'm not a good answerer of messages, And so sometimes I even write in my bio, like, I'm gonna be there and there, meet me there. I'm not gonna do any private one-on-ones with anyone, but rather be like build my own little booth at a coffee shop, and then be there for 2 to 3 hours, because the rest is for me overwhelming. But I think you cannot like, this is not the case for everybody, So
no,
if,
but
for instance,
I think you have a valuable point, because I can easily see that you can also get totally spammed on this kind of apps where, of course, and it's always a bit, everybody maybe wants to meet up with the same people. And then it gets a bit, it's kind of the Tinder, not?
Yeah, it is.
5% of the people on Tinder, they get all the requests, and all the other people are frustrated, left behind, something like that, not? Yeah. So that's definitely not something. Yeah.
So I found new ways to use this app because, again, I was overwhelmed and I got a lot of like, why don't you don't reply? And then they approach you again on LinkedIn, and then you're just like screwed. And you hide in your hotel room, even as an extrovert. So it's that's why for me it's important. This is not just an introvert problem, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, also sometimes in those public events, I get approached by really, really weird people I don't want to talk to. And with this, I feel even more exposed, that I don't have a chance to filter with who I find my time valuable talking to. But instead, some weird algorithm decides who is my match or not, So me as a user, I'm not a biggest fan of it. Like,
but then how? Because you were saying then I create kind of my own booth, sitting somewhere in a bar, and then people. But then don't you face then the same problem, that then still people that you actually don't want to talk to come to you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. The reason I like those apps is that I see, like, usually you can filter the program and see like what's relevant, and you can like click on, even if there are like multiple stages, you can kind of navigate yourself better throughout those those events, even if then you have satellite events left and right, and then you kind of know who's going where.
But then I would say you validate the overall problem.
Yeah,
I think to some extent, actually, the satellite thing for me confirms the thing about decentralization, that makes sense. But where you totally kind of question my approach would be an app where you match people, because then it's like
not
you get
another
overwhelmed,
app.
you get
approached by people that you don't want to meet.
Yeah.
And it becomes a mess, not? So that's not, that's not, okay. Which is, I think it's fair what I was saying, but.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe I'm totally wrong. Like maybe people enjoy these apps, but oftentimes I think
No, but now to be honest, when I now think of it, I would have the same reaction. I would say, oh, fuck, all these people are now sending me messages. I don't want to talk with these people.
Yeah.
And then it gets even embarrassing, not because you don't want to meet these people at a conference.
Yeah, they chase you. And then they really do. And so I'm usually not making the most of, because people like, why don't you use the app? Like you should use it in a proper way, but then it just gets messy. But what I would like, I've conducted multiple meetups or conferences, small and big, and what I would always say is you have to give people somewhat of a reason to talk about. So, it's kind of like those wedding games. When you bring together your and your spouse's people, you kind of have to give them a common ground to talk about things. And this is the same for those events, right? You have to.
Yeah, but I find that always so terrible. That's exactly something that I would hate. That at a wedding, I'm forced to play a stupid game, and then that's used to meet other people, and then I'm like, then I'm really like, where is the exit? Where can I go?
I know that's why they do it on the ship, so you can't exit.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that's at conferences where it's a dinner at the ship. I don't go because that means I cannot leave. Yeah.
It's the same with the conference at my way. I'm not participating on the ship dinner because I'm like, no, I want to be able to leave.
Yeah. No, but
it's a trap. Yeah. I don't know. I think, Dries, this is very nice that you're tackling this problem, because I think everybody's been in this position. But looking at it, that you're not even facing it for one conference, but rather like for the whole society in the year of 2025, where nobody wants to talk to a stranger anymore. Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, it's a hard problem, but if I can solve it, then it's also a big problem that is solved. Not we should go for the hard problems.
Well, maybe what I like about it. There are these Rossmann or some supermarkets where you can grab a different basket. For instance, like a silent basket, and then nobody talks to you, or you grab like a pink basket, and then this means that you're single. And then and then the same is true at some parties. You get like those wristbands, that you're single, or that you're taken, or that you're looking for fun, or whatever it is. And so and basically it's coming from old traditions from the Oktoberfest, right? It's kind of where you put your bow. And so ultimately maybe conferences should add like another layer of, do I want to be approached? Am I an investor? Am I a startup? Do I need money? Like maybe there should be somewhat of a clustering when entering. So that people know like this is the table, people want to meet new people.
Yeah.
So maybe you should bring out some wristbands, please.
No,
today I don't want to talk to anybody. I'm just here for the food. No, that would be my wristband.
No, but your feedback is very fair. I can immediately see that that's a huge problem that I have not yet anticipated. So.
Yes, so this was the talk that I had with Ronja, and I think we can all agree that there were some critical comments, and I actually think some of the comments made actually a lot of sense. So I'm definitely not questioning that, and I think that the message is clear. I need to further think about what is actually the solution that I want to create, and it's clear that simply creating another app for people to match up will not work, and it actually triggers quite some issues. So it's already clear to me that this will not be working out. So the next steps for this week will be to just pivot and start thinking about a more interesting solution for the problem that I identified. So that will be my challenge. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I try to show how it really works, what mentoring means. So I hope you also learned something from this. So thanks for paying attention, and see you next time. Bye.